And welcome everybody to the Daily Space Weather. I just wanted to give a shout out to smAsho staff, aka Christy, aka Molybdy, my nickname. Have a listen over at soundclick.com/goldencapproductions. This track called Molybdenum 99, which is one of the isotopic states of molybdenum, is available for 99 cents to add to your MP3 collection, or you can even stream it. Here's a tidbit. So anyway, check it out over there at soundclick.com/goldencapproductions. Today's featured track, Molybdenum 99. And let's look at the sun. We've got a lot of interesting things to cover today, including cosmology topics. We'll talk about liquid metallic hydrogen for a quick moment. Defined coronal hole right in the Earth-facing zone has just appeared right in this region. And I have paused the video. Here we go. Right in this region. And we have seen some magnetic connections to it, apparently. Holes in the corona, folks. The plasma can obscure the magnetic field, yes, as the plasma aligns to the magnetic fields, but doesn't become the magnetic fields. So this is a 48-hour view, by the way, from SDO. And let's take a look at some more views. That's just the solar polar field strength. More on that in a later video. Now, we've made two videos here in the 304 angstroms as we saw some filamentary activity. So we'll just play those. These are the Helio viewer videos, and allow me to vanish. And we are coming at you once again from behind the toilet paper mic here in the Smash Bunker, a location we are more than happy to exit as soon as possible. Please bear with me one moment, folks. Having a little technical difficulty here. And again, we are streaming live, so this is the dangers of the live stream, folks. You're seeing the way the sausage gets made. And let's get this view of the South Pole as well. I'll download that first to not bother you with my file manipulations. I don't know what the heck just happened there. There we go. And let's play this one also. Geez, too many keystrokes. And it is behaving goofily. Anyway, there's the southern region. Just wanted to get a good look at both solar polar regions. And let's close this down and look at the fields real quick. So first of all, there's 171 angstroms. Little bright spot here in the south. And a small active region rising up here as well. Let's fade out to the fields. There are the fields. No sunspots. And here's the composite view. There's 304 angstroms. And there's my new favorite. It's orangey, flamey, reddy, fiery 304/171 angstroms. And by the way, thanks to our latest viewers, thanks new subscribers, everybody viewing the content, please take a moment to press like and subscribe if you haven't done so. Perhaps visit our links after the video is complete. We are also on BitChute. So, and we've reached 150 subscribers over there. We'll have to do a BitChute exclusive 150 subscriber spectacular special. And we're not going to talk about the mission today, but if you want to read about the mission, it's the smAsho Mash mission. Head to smashomash.com/forum/mission. Lots of information available there. And let's look at the 48-hour image here, images of the sun in 304 angstroms. Pretty busy filamentary behavior there, all around the limbs. There is a bit of plasma in between the Earth and the star right now. We'll show you that momentarily. We'll let this play through one more time. It's again a 48-hour view from SDO, the Solar Dynamics Observatory. KP index is currently at 0, having been only at 0 or 1 for the past 24 hours. And check this out, there's been a lot of talk about comets lately. Here's something that happened in 2007 with Comet 2P Encke. Now there's going to be a coronal mass ejection, and you're going to see the comet right around this area lose its tail. So let's play that. I'll try to keep my pointer near where the comet, there's the comet right there. Wait for it, there comes a CME, and bow! The tail vanished for a moment. The CME blew the tail right off. Now you can see it moving in a little closer to the sun here. I thought that was interesting to share, as it's not a very well-known thing. And if you want to read about it, there are articles about it, such as this one, "The Sun Rips Off a Comet's Tail," on the nasa.gov website. It's science.nasa.gov. Just do a web search on DuckDuckGo, for instance, for "The Sun Rips Off a Comet's Tail." Some great images of Comet Swan showing up on Space Weather. Check out this view. Quite spectacular. Once again, Gerald Raymond at Farm Tivoli, Namibia. And you can see a bunch of perturbations in the comet tail out there, perhaps caused by solar activity. And let's move on to some more data here. 10.7 centimeter radial flux has dropped down to 68. And there's the graph of the last cycle, cycle 24. And welcome to cycle 25 and the Neo-Renaissance. Next, looking at the solar system. Here's where planets and the moon and so forth are located. Even objects like Makemake and Eris. There's where things will be in a week, as Earth moves into the Jupiter-Saturn conjunctive position. And here's a star chart. If you have a low horizon before sunrise, you should be able to see Jupiter, Saturn, and Mars up there on the ecliptic. If you're wondering what those bright objects are, they're not stars, they're planets. Wandering stars, as they're known. At least Mercury and Venus are known as wandering stars. We won't get into it. GOES X-ray flux is totally flatlined. And the proton flux similarly flatlined. No surprises there. And let's step into cosmology for a quick moment, as we've got some interesting information to share with you about detonating nuclear weapons in space, the properties of liquid metallic hydrogen, and the properties of a crazy galaxy jet. First of all, are you aware that there's a Netflix special starring Steve Carell as the current director of the Space Force, which is this gentleman here, who suggests that Mr. Carell get a haircut, and that is General J. Raymond. And I'll play a little teaser from the Netflix special. By the way, the Netflix special comes out on May 29th, again featuring Steve Carell. It looks like it's a bit of a politically motivated series. We'll see if it's truly funny or if it's just a bunch of jokes aimed at making fun of President Trump.
Mark Naird, formerly number 2 at the Air Force.
Anyway, taking a number 2 on the Air Force is Steve Carell. Let's hope it's good. I'll be watching. Perhaps we'll do a review. And by the way, Steve Carell does not shave his head. And let's talk about detonating nuclear weapons in space. Were you aware that detonating nuclear weapons in space is extremely risky, hazardous, shockingly shady thing to do? Well, why is that? Well, here's why it is. It's because when a nuclear weapon is detonated in space, it disrupts the Van Allen belts. It causes an electron bridge to form up here in the Van Allen belts that sits there for 7 to 10 days. And I won't get into the physics of what that really means, but the Van Allen belts, which are the electron shells around the planet Earth, and you won't see me showing an NPR ad very often, an NPR website very often. The Van Allen belts are the borders of the plasmasphere, and we get extra double layer Van Allen belts when we get coronal mass ejection striking the magnetosphere, for instance. And this is part of the reason why we have a test ban on nuclear weapons, because it causes disruptions possibly on the other side of the world as a result of these electron bridges that form and then stay in space for an extended period of time. It's not only dangerous for people on the space station and so forth, anybody in spacecraft, it's also dangerous because it can shut down power grids, mess up communications. When these earliest tests were done, it was causing people's garage doors to open and close. Automatic garage doors with the radio frequency remote. So all of these things are totally associated with the Earth's geomagnetic fields. And again, we're not going to get into the physics of the Earth's geomagnetic field here, but if you want to read an article about exploding hydrogen bombs in space, there's a good NPR article about it. In Honolulu, the expressions were front page news, "End blast tonight may be dazzling, good view likely," said the Honolulu Advertiser. Hotels held what they called rainbow bomb parties on rooftops and verandas. When the bomb burst, people told of blackouts and strange electrical malfunctions like garage doors opening and closing on their own. Before garage door opener remotes were encrypted and keyed. Let's talk about liquid metallic hydrogen. The most likely component that makes up the sun's actual internals, liquid metallic hydrogen, and indeed solid metallic hydrogen, I would believe, would be in the core of the sun. Now, some theoreticians already believe that there's liquid metallic hydrogen inside Jupiter. Some believe it's inside Earth also. We're not going to conjecture on that in this video. But let me just read a little bit of information about this for you. This is part of the reason why we call the show The Diamond Anvil Too Hard to Smash, because liquid metallic hydrogen requires incredibly high pressures. So in a laboratory, you need to come up with a pressure somewhere around 1 million and 200 million psi. It does appear to behave as a superconductor, and there have been various experiments about it. We do believe that when it gets under even more pressure, it becomes solid metallic hydrogen. And all of these theoretically superconducting materials help to explain why the sun does what it does. Everything from the continuous white light spectra down to the extreme magnetic fields associated with stars. And Robitaille's paper from 2013 is probably the most important paper written during our lives. Planets like Jupiter and Saturn are thought to contain a lot of liquid metallic hydrogen, which may be responsible for their observed powerful magnetic fields. So just think about that, folks, and if you want to read about it, please do. This is just a wiki article. But better yet, read about it in 40 lines of evidence for condensed matter, the sun on trial, liquid metallic hydrogen as a solar building block. Let's talk a little more about why sunspots appear dark in the umbrae. Well, if you're looking at a very flat surface, and the surface is made of a graphite-like material, which, by the way, liquid metallic hydrogen has been observed to be black in color, metallic, and highly conductive. When it condenses, it appears to lose a lot of electrical resistance. And basically what happens is you have a graphite-like lattice structure, which is very flat when viewing a sunspot from the Earth, because you're looking through thousands of miles of hot walls. So metals emit like this. If you're looking at a flat metal, it'll look black from this perspective, even if it's emitting light. And that is part of the explanation for why sunspots appear black. Let's move on to Galaxy PKS 2014-55, located 8 million years ago, is an X-shaped galaxy. And we've resolved some new images thanks to the Meerkat telescope, and I believe what's happening here is one of two things. We've got a double core, and I think this is the most likely one. So we've got a jet going in this direction and then one opposite in this direction. By the way, these jets are millions of light years in length. For reference, the Milky Way galaxy is about 125,000 light years in diameter. You can see these jets exceed the size of the entire galaxy. This looks like a double core to me, especially because you have these two younger looking jets coming out in this way. However, an alternative explanation is that these areas are raining back into the galaxy as we see continuing evidence that black holes don't only behave like vacuums, but they behave like fountains. So perhaps they don't behave like vacuums at all at a certain scale. Who really knows? By the way, if you're not aware of this, we don't know if the mass of the Earth is increasing or decreasing. We don't know if the mass of the Sun is increasing or decreasing. We don't know if the mass of the Milky Way galaxy's core is increasing or decreasing, or the galaxy as a whole. And indeed, we don't know the mass of this galaxy either. So anyway, if you want to read about that one, interesting article here on phys.org. And there are various mainstream astronomical theories as to why the X galaxy is shaped the way it is. So just head to phys.org if you want to read it in the astronomy and space section. Let's move on to more solar data here. Looking at the real-time solar wind, we see a couple fleeting magnetic connections with that coronal hole. Current phi angle at 102 degrees. And I believe we've already crossed the current sheet polarity boundary. We'll show you that in a moment. Solar wind density has ramped down to 3.5 protons per cubic centimeter. Solar wind speed recently ramped up in the past 2 hours to 326 kilometers a second, still background solar minimum levels. Let's look at the geospace magnetosphere movies here. Here's 4 hours of data looking at the magnetohydrodynamic pressure. And it's looking very weak. And if you're wondering where the Van Allen belts are, folks, if you look at the meridional plane, there's a Van Allen belt surrounding this area, and there's plasma in this area, and this area, and this area. There's a Van Allen belt out here. There's also likely one out here. The more pressure we get, the more layers build up, and the more compressed the lower Van Allen belts get. Here ends your magnetospheric geography lesson. Next, looking at ground magnetic perturbations. And by the way, if you're wondering, setting off a nuclear weapon over here could cause an EMP way over here, depending on the way the magnetic field force lines are that day. We've got two North Poles, one over northern Canada, one over Siberia, and the South Pole has crept into the southern Indian Ocean here, south of Australia. Not a lot of perturbations going on right now. And here's the magnetic model, by the way, folks. If you want to look this up yourself, just look up the US/UK World Magnetic Model. And you can see those two North Poles. And the South Pole down here. And the net North Pole up here, east of Greenland. If you weren't aware, we're more than happy to inform you. And again, thanks to our new viewers, subscribers, etc. Please share the content on your social media. Next, we'll look at the GOES magnetometers. And my best guess would be that the polarity crossing of the current sheet happened right here where this arc jet event occurs. I won't get into the physics of that because it's the daily space weather. And let's move out to the Gong 2 data. That's stereo A, that's stereo B if you weren't aware. This Gong 2 data is taken from 51 ground-based magnetometers, and one on stereo A and one on stereo B. So you can see this data is 1 hour and 5 minutes old, and we're currently in the North Pole portion of the current sheet, shown there in green. And this could snap back to South Pole polarity at any moment here, especially because we see activity rising north of the solar equator. Let's look at the line of sight field plot right after we look at stereo A. And again, earlier I said there was a big plasma plume in between the Earth and the Sun right now. The Earth is out in this direction. And the reason we look at stereo A is because that's what shows us the best view of possible Earth-facing coronal mass ejections. And you can see there's a long plasma plume out there. That thing could release at any moment. We don't need sunspots. We don't need solar flares for coronal mass ejections to happen. So that's something to keep an eye on. And when I say ion, well, there are a lot of ions. And here's the line of sight field plot. Keep in mind, again, the data is 1 hour and 4 minutes old, and that the magnetic environment can change at any moment. In fact, if I had to forecast it, I would guess that we'll be back in the South Pole orientation shown here in red within the next 24, again, especially because of that active region rising in the northeast. The electron flux is very low. Not as low as it was. Here's the total electron content forecast. Nothing to write home about there except very low electron flux levels. And we've gotten a little bit higher in the past few hours than we did yesterday. In fact, than we have in a couple of weeks here. And there are indeed electrons out there, folks. We're just wondering when they'll arrive. As we saw some significant solar wind density and velocity spikes here over the past 10 days, I'll say. So anyway, there's the current data from the GOES electron flux, the greater than or equal to 2 mega electron volts from GOES 16. Next we'll look at the ionosphere. Here's 6 hours of data from it, courtesy Australian Government Bureau of Meteorology. And it's still looking a little wobbly and a little bit anomalous here, especially on the nighttime portion. Daytime portion looking a little more normal. And here's the latest image, that one coming in at 9 o'clock UT. A little bit on the discharge side, on the nighttime side, especially in the southern hemisphere, where you see that big blob of red, where there is no F2 layer, there's only an F layer. Next, looking at windy.com for the Earth's pressure maps. Here's the GFS forecast. We'll let this advance about 24 hours from when we made the video. And here's where we expect things to be according to the GFS forecast at 1300 Eastern Daylight Time tomorrow. And if you're wondering where I'm located, again, thanks to all our new viewers, subscribers, etc. We're located in Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania, here in the Smash Bunker. You hear that rumble? That rumble is the Smash Bunker. And create a rumble on the internet and show people this graph. All the people who think CO2, carbon dioxide, is the control knob for the Earth's climate, please show them this. And it might convince them practically instantaneously that all of these nonsensical models about carbon dioxide being in charge of the Earth's temperature is just ridiculous. Garbage in, garbage out models. You put garbage in, you put garbage out. Let's ask a question to the Oracle of Family Feud. Carbon dioxide is the Earth's climatological control knob. Survey said? Man, I never get these right. All right, so looking at the USGS site here for the past 24 hours of earthquakes, we see nothing over a 6 magnitude. We saw a deep earthquake event yesterday. Among the largest are this 5.2 near Guam. Please leave a comment if you're viewing from the Far East. Small deep quake in southern Alaska, as we've seen those going on for quite a while. Here's a deep quake at El Salvador. It's 4.4 magnitude at 81.6 kilometers. Followed only 12 minutes later. Not 12 minutes later, 14 minutes later. I can do math. 14 minutes later, followed by a 4.3 at East Timor there. It's 413 kilometers. So over there, and then a third of the way around the world over there. And let's continue up the list. Citing any oddities. Here's a mid-Indian ridge quake. That's that kind of unusual spot. We don't see many quakes at that location. It's a 5.5, and that's the biggest of the past 24, I believe. Here's a nearly 100-kilometer deep quake in western South America. It's a 5.0 magnitude. Grecian quake, and a volcanic uptick there also, according to other YouTube pages. Mount Etna apparently erupting. There's a deep quake in Indonesia. Little uptick in earthquakes in that area. A 5.1 magnitude quake at 145 kilometers. That one came in at 5:49 today on May 9th. Let's look at the volcanoes. And again, there's Etna. Looks like it's ramping down a bit. Mount Aso, flight level 5,000 there. Not sure on Sakurajima. Please don't pole vault the caldera. It could be erupting. Mount Ibu exploding. Flight level 7,000. Tokono, flight level 7,000 as it also explodes. Popocatépetl has perhaps dispersed its ash. Sangay has dispersed its ash. Sabancaya exploding, producing intermittent pulses with a 25,000-foot plume of ash. And while we're unable to detect whether or not Novatos de Chilean's erupting, please do not fly your ultralight aircraft over it. And we've moved on to the, oh wow, it's so scary that I'm going to totally lock myself inside for months and months at a time, possibly years, and then I'm going to run away from other human beings, and I'm going to go around wearing a mask looking like a complete COVIDiot. Let's talk about some techniques. Here's a technique. One of the ways you get rid of that is with that. And I don't know if you're aware, but about 5 minutes in room temperature sunlight will cause that to go and be out of here. Hey, thanks, son. Appreciate that. Now, you may have heard a lot of COVIDiotic stories about people doing COVIDiotic things. And one of the things that we'll be doing today that's not so COVIDiotic is making turnip and parsnip soup. I think we're going to add potatoes also, so it's going to be a potato turnip parsnip soup. And I wanted to share a little bit of this recipe here because I think we're going to make some parsnip chips in addition to the soup. How to make parsnip chips? Well, here's how to do it. Use a vegetable peeler to cut a parsnip into thin strips. Toss in olive oil and sea salt, perhaps pepper also, spread on a baking sheet. Bake for about 30 minutes or until crispy and nicely browned but not burned. Parsnip chips. And please leave a recipe if you have a recipe for parsnip turnip potato soup. If you don't, we'll probably hook you up with one next time. Now, we're not going to make it this way as this is a blended soup. We're going to do it more like a vegetable soup, and it's not going to be cream based. It'll be either homemade chicken stock or homemade beef stock. Are you aware that you are essential? Are you aware that government shutdowns are hilarious? Have you bought yourself a pallet of popcorn? Are you concerned that your state governor's mansion may burn to the ground because of your state governor's behavior? Has your state governor extended lockdowns in large portions of your state into the month of June, like ours has? Complete COVIDiot Tom Wolfe, being advised by another COVIDiot, former NCAA linebacker, Dr. Rachel Levine. Now, that's not Rachel Levine. That's somebody who felt safe because she was walking around with a ski mask on to protect against the COVID. Did you watch our latest episode of the Diamond Anvil, Too Hard to Smash? Well, it's episode 6. And we talk about everything from genetically modified mosquitoes to the reason sunspots are dark to pulsar wind nebulae. Have you heard a bunch of nonsense, science, non-science, complete BS, people telling you to trust the science and then just telling you total nonsense? Well, I've made a graphic about it, and I won't explain that farther. Now, after Liz Warren learned how to get her a beer on her live stream, she'd like to let you know that if she could just pass another 59,346 pages of legislation, she'll guarantee free wampum as a human right. Win free Warren for president 2020. That's a pretty old meme. By the way, hey, Tom Wolfe, that's an awful nice government you have there. Be a shame if it shuts down. Have you seen a lot of sharticles on the internet? Do you know what a sharticle is? Well, a sharticle is particulate matter expelled from the anus due to a shart, which is when you try to fart and then you accidentally poop your pants. It's also a article, often propaganda. Usage. Look at these sharticles in my drawers. Could be skid marks. Could be dislodged dingleberries. Who knows? Phys.org's Earth section is rife with sharticles. Speaking of sharticles, one of the places to not find your cosmology information is... All right. Again, please don't forget to press like and subscribe on YouTube in all seriousness, folks, as we are in a huge growth phase here in the year 2020, and we'll be doing all kinds of new stuff. By the way, check out our playlists that we've recently created. We've got hundreds of space weather videos, over 288 on the playlist. We've also got 7 The Diamond Anvil Too Hard to Smash. We've got aquarium videos, nature videos coming up, tutorials, 65 cosmology segments, and others. So check out the playlist. We've done that because we have so much content and we wanted to make it a little more convenient for folks to watch older videos. Now, please get outside, folks. Please get outside. And I'm not going to tell you to go defy your government, but they can do a gas enema along with this sign as far as that goes. So follow me on Instagram. There's exclusive content there. Were you aware that Zero Hedge was banned from Twitter? Well, according to a leading German virologist, COVID-19 less deadly than we thought. Who would have thunk it? Well, I've been saying it for probably 2 months by now. And incidentally, we're also on Twitter, where we've promoted another track from soundclick.com/GoldenCat Productions, Power Bait, which features some sound effects from the FPS enemy territory, Wolfenstein enemy territory. Now, if you haven't checked out the smAshomash.com/forum yet, check it out. We've got an extensive section on COVIDiots. So if you've got COVIDiot stories, such as Tom Wolfe extending stay-at-home order for PA counties and still in red phase until June 4th, which includes where I'm located, by the way, read about COVIDiots, post about COVIDiots. It's all very interesting. We've also got a lengthy section about the coronavirus, dating all the way back to January 23rd, when we started updating it nearly every day. So here's a great article about authoritarianism in the age of pseudoscience. So let me just read a little blurb here. The corruption of science, the falsification of science, and we saw all those things happen here. This is a company, Monsanto, that used all of the plays in the playbook developed over 60 years by the tobacco industry to escape the consequences of killing 1 of every 5 of its customers. Monsanto has used those strategies. If you weren't aware of the implications of Roundup and GMO crops and neonicotinoids and so on, please read the article. Which science will you follow? Will you follow the science that indicates there's going to be 2 million deaths in the U.S.? Or the science that indicates there'll be 134,000 deaths in the U.S.? Or the science that says there's going to be 72,000 deaths in the U.S.? Which science are you going to follow? When people say, scientists claim, it's usually because they're saying vague stuff that they can't back up with any actual facts. Anyway, the smAshomash.com/forum thread about coronavirus is now nearly 30 pages long. And we put a couple updates in this morning. The latest ones from swprs.org are fantastic, and they almost fully confirm all of my personal forecasting on the scamdemic in terms of mortality rate, effectiveness of masks and lockdowns, and more. Hashtag COVIDiots. It's going to be the word of the year, folks. Mark my words. Hashtag your posts with COVIDiots. Hashtag COVIDiots. Make it blow up. Hashtag COVIDiots will never admit that I was right, but that's fine. Their pathetic attempts to gaslight me have entirely failed. So I've made forecast after forecast after forecast after forecast, which keep 100% proving me correct. Here's yet another one. A new antibody study from Iran showed one of the earliest, which is one of the most earliest and affected countries, also showed a very low lethality of 0.08 to 0.12. Now, I've been forecasting 0.05 to 0.09. If that's not in line with these estimates, I don't know what is. So anyway, there are a ton of updates there. And let me just do a little quick tutorial here on how to share the posts. If you want to share this lengthy post from the Swiss Propaganda Research Institute, just scroll down to the bottom, right-click this. That's the number of the post. You right-click that, you click copy link address, and now you can paste that link wherever you want, and it'll go right to that page and to that post. So there's a little tidbit on how to use the forums. And let me get to the last update that we did. I think there's one more here. And this one is about vitamin D. So this is part of the reason why to get outdoors. It's not just because of the antiseptic properties of UV light, but also to enhance your own natural vitamin D production. If you're staying locked in a cave, make sure you consume supplements to account for your lack of vitamin D. This article from SciTech Daily, SciTechDaily.com, officially my favorite science publication. I'll let it scroll in case you want to pause and read the article right here on our YouTube or on our BitChute. We'll be here when you get back. And if you want the most recently boosted meme about Pennsylvania's top COVIDiots, former NCAA linebacker Dr. Rachel Levine and Governor Tom Wolf, who were very surprised that his mansion hasn't already burned to the ground. Let's just hope that his mansion burns to the ground figuratively and not literally. Recall Tom Wolf today. Let's talk about self-awareness. Self-awareness is one of the main problems with people who have extreme mental illness. So if you have zero
self-awareness,
please stay the heck away from me, because people with zero self-awareness have a tendency to be sociopaths. Now, what's the point? The point is, you can think the craziest thoughts you want, as long as you don't do the craziest behavior you want. I don't care if you think reptilians are sending signals from Saturn to a substation known as the moon to send signals to the Earth to keep humans scared, so that shape-shifting reptilians who are running society in a giant global cabal are able to feed off the fear and cortisol production of the human race. I don't care if you think that stuff, but if you try to, set up the world government to try to battle this threat, then I'm going to have problems with it because of your use of tax dollars. No taxation without representation. Have some self-awareness, or you'll find yourself in a pumping station. Next, we're going to look at the jet streams. And while I do it, I'm going to touch my face because it's very therapeutic. So please leave a comment if you're viewing the video while wearing a mask like a complete COVIDiot, or because you have to wear a mask because you're at work and you're obeying ridiculous, ineffective, silly corporate protocols designed to prevent litigation, not protect your health. It's completely ineffective, folks. Why are state governors telling people to wear masks but not gloves in grocery stores? That is the dumbest idea I've ever heard. And I'm trying to boycott every single business who requires me to wear masks, which of course is impossible in Pennsylvania, thanks to people like Governor Tom Wolf and former NCAA linebacker Dr. Rachel Levine, the Physician General of Pennsylvania, who should be fired along with her boss, Governor Tom Wolf. Again, recall Tom Wolf today. Anyway, there are the eastern jets, and we see an anticyclone over the northern Middle East. Here are the western jets. And check out the extreme meridional bend over the North Pacific. That's going to be pulling some hot air toward southern Alaska, causing people to wig out and say, OMG, OMG, it's so hot, we're going to burn up. Even though we've had 2 standard deviations above the normal snow mass balance, 2 standard deviations above the 30-year average for 3 winters in a row. But oh my gosh, the planet must be really, really cold to have that much snow falling in the northern hemisphere. A ridiculous idea. Next, we'll look at water vapor map for Europe and Africa. There's that. Water vapor maps for the Far East and Oceania. lightning maps. And it looks like there's some Gulf Coast lightning coming on. Hey, Galveston, there's thunder rolling in. If you haven't tried it, try forecasting lightning next time you hear thunder at lightningmaps.org. Impress your friends, scare the natives, scare off your foes. Tell people that you're Thor, the god of thunder, in Norse mythology. Next, looking at the U.S. Doppler radar map, I'm disappointed to tell you that we don't have any snow falling here in the Lehigh Valley, but it looks like they're showing snow all the way down in Delaware. Fingers crossed. I'll have to go outside after the video and see if any snow's fallen, but I don't think it has. First thing I did is looked out the window like a child expecting to have the day off from school. Next, looking at the U.S. water vapor map, I would note that the jet stream is dipping down into Pennsylvania, and it's going to be even colder tomorrow morning than today. There are all kinds of freeze and frost warnings over a giant area like this. We won't go to tropical tidbits today. What we will do is look at that sudden apparent rainfall over southern Texas. Let's do it. I think we're going to look at Colorado also, folks, as there's some convergences happening there as well. And there you see a lot of water vapor suddenly vanish, and that's typically because of this thing we call rain. Check out the Hall current streamers. Once again, lines perpendicular to the mode of motion of the water. That is caused by the Hall effect, folks. Not everything's electric, but the atmosphere is largely electric, which is no surprise as we see these things like lightning happening. And here's another interesting convergence happening here over central Colorado. Should make for some interesting cloud formations as there's plenty of water vapor. And it might cloud up at the end of the day today as this slowly moves into the east. See a little bit of wetter air there. And there ends today's weather pornography section. Thanks to all of our supporters. Please consider supporting us on Subscribestar as well as on Patreon. And thanks to our patrons for being the main source of revenue for the content, whether you're an associate or an assistant producer. And thanks to our latest patron, by the way. We appreciate it. Thanks for being part of the SMASH team. Thanks everybody on the SMASH team, whether you donate, whether you contribute material, whether you leave comments, whether you troll us. It's all good. And again, thanks to the SMASH team. Next, we'll look at the intensitygram to show you 0 sunspots. After that, we'll look at the colorized magnetogram to show you the only small active region is down here, not a sunspot. It's the only spot even likely to be one. Although up here, there's something going on up there, rising soon. We won't really worry about it. We'll just show you one more movie of the sun here. How about 94 angstroms? One of my personal favorites. It's a 48-hour view from the SDO. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Remember, stare at the sun. When you do, don't drink. And if you drink, don't drive. Seriously, don't drive. Go out and catch some rays. Is it going to be sunny where you are? Go out and catch some rays, folks. Go outside. Do not lock yourself in a cave or a bunker. That's a stupid, COVIDiotic idea. And since it'll never be now again, welcome to the Neo-Renaissance. May the solar wind be at your back and the atherosclerosis absent from your arteries.